2010 was another frightening year for the Christians of the Middle East. From Egypt to Iraq, they were the victims of violent attacks by Islamic extremists. Increasingly, Christians are feeling under siege in the territory they've called home for centuries, including the Holy Land, the very cradle of Christianity. And many are leaving the region for good. ABC Middle East correspondent Ben Knight reports.
For 1,500 years, the monastery of Mar Saba has perched on this cliff in the Judean desert between Jerusalem and the Dead Sea. The handful of monks who still live here are as reclusive as the hermits who built the place. They're a direct link to the earliest years of Christianity. In the cells and caves of this monastery, early theologians like John of Damascus shaped the still evolving religion. It's because of places like Mar Saba that this is called the Holy Land. But the Holy Land is watching its Christian population disappear.
An integral part of the identity of the land will be lost. I cannot imagine a Holy Land without Christians.
I really fear that the Church of Nativity and the Holy Sepulchre will be called empty museums. And this is something worries me too much.
It's Sunday in the West Bank village of Birzeit. And Father Rafik Khoury is preparing for Mass. For years he's been watching his congregations dwindle as they emigrate to Australia, Canada, the US and South America.
They say, well, we lived in that situation, okay for us, but for our children, we would like to prepare a better future for our children. That is why they leave.
Figures are difficult to find, but no one is disputing the trend. Christians are leaving in numbers. According to one estimate, in the year 2008 alone, more than 450 families left the city of Bethlehem to move overseas. Professor Nabib Gayet is definitely not planning on leaving, and he doesn't have much time for those who have.
Well, they are cowards. If you have to sacrifice in order to live,
But the danger is real. In 2007, Christian pastor Rami Ayad was murdered in Gaza. No one was ever charged. His family believes there was never any real investigation. But it's not just violence. Some Christians say their Muslim neighbours are taking the land out from under them.
They take it by force, by forgery, by many ways. And because many of Bethlehem people are immigrating, their lands are gone.
Samir Kumsier runs a Christian television station in the West Bank. For years, he too criticised those who decided to leave for a better life overseas. But now even he has had enough.
It's not easy for me to take such a decision, but sometimes I find that I am driven towards that direction. And I tell you, I am very angry with the Christian world.
We love Israel.
This is why. It's the Feast of Tabernacles, a time when evangelical Christians from around the world gather in Jerusalem.
We come as friends of Israel because Israel is God's chosen people, chosen for a purpose, and not because they're different, not because they're better, chosen for a purpose, and that's to bring salvation to the world.
This is a messianic view of Christianity that believes when the Jews return to the land of Israel, the temple can be rebuilt and the final day of judgment will arrive. The Palestinian state doesn't fit into that plan.
Israel is not alone.
Glenn and Marilyn Shaw are here doing missionary work in the West Bank and have seen the poverty there.
You're here today with Israeli flags, yes, who are obviously the occupying force. Is that a conflict for you?
Not really, because God commands us to bless the Jews, to bless Israel. Anybody who blesses Israel will get a blessing in return.
But 35 kilometres away, on the other side of Israel's security barrier, Christians like Father Rafik Khoury despair at their attitude.
They are forgetting their own roots to help others to have their roots in the Holy Land. It is an irony, but it is a dramatic and tragic irony for us.
In October, Pope Benedict called a special synod in Rome. It was described as a crisis meeting on the situation of Christians in the Middle East.
The basis of the synod is this discussion paper, or in the language of the Vatican, a lineamenta, and it talks about some of the driving issues, such as the Israeli occupation, or the growing influence of extreme Islam right across the Middle East. And it offers much in the way of support, but as yet, not a lot in the way of solutions.
Samir Kumsier says if the Christian world can't protect its own, then the moderate Muslims who live here in the Holy Land must realise what's at stake.
When they are categorized as a Muslim state here only, it's not in their favour. I don't think the world will accept them as they accept them with our presence as Christians.
In November, Al-Qaeda in Iraq declared open season on all Christians after a siege at a Baghdad church ended in the deaths of more than 50 people. Afterwards, these Iraqi Christians fled to the relative safety of Jordan. But they're not staying here. They're looking for visas to Canada, the US and Australia. Yet another Christian community has decided it's time to leave the Middle East for good. And they won't be the last.
Ben Knight with that report.